Hello and welcome to another Looney Tunes review video. If you are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe to follow my journey to review all 1000 Looney Tunes shorts and give this video a like as well. So this is a review for One Step Ahead of My Shadow, released in 1933, it's the 49th in the series, and it's directed by Rudolph Ising. It's been released on one or two Blu-rays and DVDs before, but it's completely unrestored as you can see, but it's perfectly watchable. At least, in terms of picture quality, not the cartoon itself. Now, in case you haven't seen this one, and there's a very good chance you probably haven't, given the subject matter that's in this cartoon, but essentially we're in an Asian city of some sort, probably China, but it's a real mishmash of different cultures, and yeah, it's a big mess right there. But we see a boy who sings the title song, we meet up with some sort of aristocrat who just sings and dances for a while. Then we see a dragon escape, giving us our third act conflict, and that's pretty much it. So what you're going to see is a re-edit of the original audio commentary I did before I had to take it down. Thanks to my good friend Blue Genocide for helping me with that. You'll hear some new thoughts from me, and you'll also be hearing from my good friend Manny Cruz, the 2D tenor, who will be discussing the main song in this short. So grab some popcorn and, well, try and enjoy. Now, right away, you just know that they took the care and time to do some respectful animation of Chinese characters. Yeah, right. Wow, that's bad. And this one is actually the first Merry Melodies in the that's still under copyright. So if it's delayed getting to, I apologize. And speaking of the backgrounds, that's probably the best thing about this one. Now, I can't speak to the accuracy of what they've done here. I mean, chances are they probably just drew a mishmash of different Asian backgrounds and then just called it a day. But it looks good though. It's like one of the, I guess they probably faked it and hopefully no one will notice, but let me know if they've gotten it wrong in terms of the backgrounds. This cartoon really just seems to be an excuse to do a lot of gags based on Chinese culture. And of course make fun of the Chinese because, you know, it's so easy to do, right? Yeah, you know, it's funny, and this one's actually not in the censored 11. I would argue this should be part of that and should be the censored 12. I mean, this is, you know, just not acceptable. When you see some of these shorts and you don't care about these characters because you don't really know them. You don't know what they are, and so when they're in these situations against, you know, a big dragon and things like that, you just don't really care. So yeah, One Step Ahead of My Shadow. I wouldn't recommend playing this in public. Okay, so those were my original thoughts, but to give you an idea of what I meant before, look in the back. One character's waving a Japanese flag, so this really was just a mishmash of Asia, I guess, done in a way that it's just like, hey, anything Asian is just automatically Chinese.
Oh, hello there, Amos. Hello there, Andy. How is you?
So that bit was a reference to the Amos and Andy radio show at the time, which were about black characters living in, I believe, Chicago and then Harlem. But of course, in the radio show, they were voiced by white actors. Later on, they would actually be on a TV show actually played by black characters, as it should be. While, of course, this short's undeniably racist with some pretty bad moments, I do maintain it looks really, really good. And some of the music is great, which my friend Manny Cruz will go through very shortly. But yeah, if you look at the backgrounds, especially in this print, even though it's unrestored, it still was a lot better than the one I used when I did the initial audio commentary. But yeah, take a look at that. It's really, really nice. Oh, this joke is so bad. It is awful. Yeah, I don't think I have to explain why it's awful. My goodness. Now, as bad as the accents are here, and of course mocking the Chinese language, I do love the animation here. I wonder if Freeling did this one, because he is credited, but given the timing and the bobbing, I wonder if it was him. If you know who it might have been, let me know in the comments. And of course, no animals were harmed in the making of this cartoon. Oh, wait. Well, at least they had a bit of faith in us actually watching this cartoon. But in any case, over to you now, Manny Cruz, the tuning tenor, who's going to discuss the music in this short.
Hi, everyone. This is Manny Cruz, the Toonie Tenor, coming at you for some commentary and, of course, Manny's music time. The 1933 Merry Melody, One Step Ahead of My Shadow, directed by Rudolph Isaac. So, as I've stated before in other commentaries, I started doing a chronological viewing of the Warner Brothers library starting in 2018. And the last time I saw this particular cartoon was November 3rd, 2018. And again, it's one of those that I really didn't remember much when I was rewatching it for this particular commentary. But anywho, let's talk a little about the cartoon itself. So, it is the earliest Merry Melody that's still under copyright. All the other Merry Melodies from 1932 and back are in the public domain. So, what I thought was interesting at the very beginning, during the title card, it's not a standard title card where it's just a black screen with the production credits on it and the title, but it's a gong and it segues nicely into the cartoon itself. There's a lot of original music in this cartoon. There's only 3 cues, which I'll talk about in a bit. But yeah, the stereotyping, the heavy Chinese culture stereotypes with the rickshaw and their clothing and especially the accents, and when the main character sings the title song, and the stereotypical pronunciation, it's just the way that they would speak English, and it's like, going through these dated material, like, it kind of takes away from the enjoyment of the cartoon itself. And then, of course, they have an Amos and Andy joke thrown in there as well, because Amos and Andy, yes, it's heavily dated and it's very stereotypical, but it was also a very famous and popular radio show at that time period. So it is a reflection of history. But I will say that the background design and just the animation, what I really like about these later harmonizing cartoons for both the Bosco's Looney Tunes as well as these Merry Melodies, is that you're seeing the progression of the studio, of the harmonizing studio, just before everything split off with Leon Schlesinger in the same year, 1933. But it's so cool to see the progression they made within 3 years, and it would have been nice to see what else they could have done. But then again, to be fair, you do see the efforts of their later work when they moved over to MGM and they got a bigger budget, and some of those later Happy Harmony cartoons from harmonizing in the 30s are just so beautifully animated and they look gorgeous. It's too bad it, not really a lot of them are very interesting, but that's besides the point. I thought that during the scene where you had the rickshaw driver bringing the older gentleman there, the heavy set guy, I thought the joke of the rickshaw, the back of it turning into a flight of stairs, was pretty clever. The joke still of the rickshaw driver being a horse, it's like, come on, like, enough. It to me it was a bit much, but I mean, to each his own. I will say that the animation of the dragon going crazy when the dragon swallowed the fireworks at the very end, what they happened with the eyes, I thought was really, really neat. And just the character design of the dragon itself, I thought was really neat. And the the fish and dragon skeleton gags at the end after they exploded from the fireworks, a little morbid, but funny. All in all, I mean, the cartoon itself, 5 out of 10. Again, very dated, lots of stereotyping. But I will say that the animation for this time period looks kind of neat, and the background design is pretty swell. So, it's time for Manny's Music Time with music trivia for you today. So, let's talk about the music in this cartoon. So, the cues themselves, really, there's only 3 if you include the theme song, Get Happy. But within the cartoon itself is Chinatown, My Chinatown, and the title song, One Step Ahead of My Shadow, with music by Sammy Fain and the lyrics by Irving Cahall. So, let's talk a little bit about the title song itself.
It's springtime, it's love time, a happy boy at all time. I was the ahead of my shadow.
It was originally featured in a 1933 pre-code film starring James Cagney, Joan Blondell, Ruby Keeler, and Dick Powell. And the name of the film is Footlight Parade. The music of the movie was composed by Harry Warren, who I've spoken about before, as well as Sammy Fain, and the lyrics were composed by Al Dubin and Irving Cahall. The film itself was selected for preservation by the United States Film Registry in 1992. So it is a film that has a lot of historical merit and it was chosen by the National Film Registry. If some of you may know that several Warner Brothers cartoons, including What's Opera Doc and Porky and Wacky Land, are in the United States Film Registry, as well as my personal favorite movie, Ghostbusters, but that's besides the point. And what's neat about Footlight Parade is that it features a few songs that would be later used in Warner Brothers cartoons. So what are those songs? Honeymoon Hotel by Warren and Dubin. So again, Harry Warren wrote the music, Al Dubin wrote the lyrics, and Honeymoon Hotel, which is coming up in 1934, is the first color cartoon the studio made. Buyer Waterfall by Sammy Fain and Irving Cahall. Sitting on a Backyard Fence by Fain and Cahall, which will be another 1934 Merry Melody. And the title song itself, One Step Ahead of My Shadow, which again is by Fain and Cahall. And what's interesting is the movie came out after this cartoon, and the title song itself was only used in a very brief scene. So James Cagney plays a producer of shows and things of that nature in the film, and he's walking through a rehearsal set. You know, there's several productions going on. He's looking at the rehearsals, and they sing barely 16 measures of the title song, 16 measures of One Step Ahead of My Shadow, and then he just dismisses the production as, this is nonsense, not a big deal. And it's funny how this cartoon and Frank Marsalis put more weight into this particular song than the original film did. So let's talk a little bit about Sammy Fain, the composer of this song, and he's also composed music for other Warner Brothers cartoons. So I'd like to thank people on the Songwriters Hall of Fame website for a lot of this information that I'm going to provide for you. So he was born Samuel Feinberg in New York City on June 17th, 1902. His family moved to Sullivan County, New York State, so up north from New York City, when he was young, because his father was a cantor at a synagogue. Fain was self-taught in piano and began composing popular songs when he was still in high school. He sent some of the songs to publishers, but he was swiftly rejected. After completing high school, Fain returned to New York City to continue pursuing songwriting, and he eventually got a job at the Mills Music Publishing Company. He was originally a stock boy, and one day his boss caught him playing some of his songs in the audition room at work. The boss gave him a job as a staff pianist and composer. During that period, he met singer Artie Dunn, and they formed a singing team that was popular in vaudeville and radio. Around 1925, Fain would have a very, very important meeting in his life where he met the lyricist Irving Cahall, and Fain and Cahall would collaborate with each other until Cahall's death in 1942. So a little bit about Irving Cahall. He was born in Houtsdale, Pennsylvania on March 5th, 1903. By the mid-1920s, he was already performing in New York, and that's the same year that he met Sammy Fain. They were very, very big in Tin Pan Alley, and they did a lot of collaborations. And as I mentioned before, Irving Cahall died on February 7th, 1942, at the very young age of 38. He was posthumously inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame in 1970. So, in 1930, Paramount Pictures signed Fain and Cahall to write a song for the Maurice Chevalier movie The Big Pond. They would decide to travel to Los Angeles and establish that as their new base of operations. For the remainder of their partnership, they worked with different studios, like I said, Paramount, Warner Brothers, so on and so forth. They didn't write full scores, but they would contribute a song or two to different films. For example, in Footlight Parade, they had the title song. That was only one part of the film, as well as Sitting on a Backyard Fence. They also wrote music for Broadway shows. Some of them were successful and some were not. A 1938 show that they wrote for Broadway that was a flop was called Right This Way, and included two songs that are considered to be the duo's most famous ones. I Can Dream, Can I? And I'll Be Seeing You. I'll Be Seeing You didn't really become popular until 1944, which was 2 years after Cahall's death, when both Bing Crosby and Tommy Dorsey recorded it, and I know that the song became really popular with those people fighting in World War II. Fain continued to work in Hollywood for many years. Continuing his career in animation, he contributed music for several Disney films, including Peter Pan, Alice in Wonderland, and the final film that he worked on, The Rescuers, in 1977. He also won an Academy Award for Best Song for Love is a Many Splendid Thing from the film of the same name. He was inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame in 1972, and he died on December 6, 1989 in Los Angeles. So those are my thoughts and Manny's Music Time for One Step Ahead of My Shadow. I hope you enjoy this commentary as well as the rest from Anthony. And I hope everybody has a great day and enjoy some beautiful music, some beautiful trivia, and so long, folks. I am not going to do it the way that the character does in a cartoon. Absolutely not. Bye.
Thanks, Manny. Look, in terms of a rating, yeah, I would give it a little bit lower, probably about a 4.5. I mean, the backgrounds are nice, some of the animation's really nice, and a few of the gags are pretty good. It's just a very hard watch with the stereotyping and bad accents and all that stuff, so it's not one that I'll frequently revisit, so... But hey, at least the title song's catchy, so there is that. But in any case, thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, take care.